There's a chapter in the book that's called The National Debt, and then in parentheses, that isn't. So I completely agree. I think these words get, they come with so much baggage. When we hear the word deficit, when we hear the word debt, they're triggering words, right? They automatically put us on the defensive. They say something's gone wrong, something's gone awry. The government is mismanaging its finances. Why is it running deficits? Why is it piling on debt? And you always hear people talk about, piling on trillions of dollars of debt and borrowing and China and all this sort of stuff. And I think of it very differently. I don't look at operationally what the government is doing when it issues treasuries as borrowing. And I don't think we should be talking about the stockpile of outstanding government bonds as debt, because people hear those words, borrowing and debt, and they think in terms that are most familiar to them. So we go right to our personal finances, right? Or maybe a business or something, and we say, well, borrowing can become dangerous because you have to pay it back. And debt, you can get into a situation where you can't service the debt, and then you've defaulted. And so what the government is doing, really, if you think about it, is it's choosing, right? A currency issuing government never has to borrow its own currency from anyone in order to spend. So that's the first really important point. What it does is it chooses to match up its deficit spending by selling US Treasuries. So if we do this in really simple numbers, and I say the government is spending $100 into the economy, but they are only taxing $90 back out. Okay, we label that a deficit. I wish we didn't. I wish we just called it net spending. So the government puts 100 in, takes 90 out, it means somebody gets 10, which means that their deficit, the government deficit, is a financial contribution to some other part of the economy. So when the government's budget is in deficit, it's depositing dollars into some part of the economy. But at the same time, it's matching up the deficit spending by selling treasuries. So what really happens is this: it puts $10 in, and then it takes the $10 back out and replaces them with US government bonds, 10, right? And so we call it borrowing, but in what sense is it meaningful to describe that as borrowing? If the government makes the money available and then transforms it into treasuries, that's not borrowing. Like if I go to a bank and I sit down with the loan officer and I ask for a loan to buy a car or a home or whatever, I don't plop down the cash on the desk of the loan officer and then ask to borrow the money. The government is making the deposit and then transforming its payment from one kind, currency, into another kind of payment, US government bonds. That's just interest-bearing dollars. So I think we should, we'd be a lot better off if we looked at the outstanding stock of treasuries as just part of the broader US money supply. That's really a more appropriate way to think about it.